one's coming to save you. So what are you gonna do about it? Raw Minds on men's mental health. Hosted by Eric. For the ones we never meet.
The first time Dr. Stephen Paul Edwards came to Raw Minds, we talked about the Venus flytrap. It was a true story about attraction turning into emotional dependency. A successful man entering the fourth divorce meets a former international model. He sees the warning signs and almost right away. And he still walks straight into the fire. Stephen admits something most people would never say out loud. He was not only trapped by her, but part of him was drawn to the danger. Her beauty, her intelligence, her sexuality, her power, her unpredictability. But the deeper truth was harder to face. 4 marriages, 4 different women, one consistent, him. The first book showed us how the trap opened. Book 2 shows what happens after it closes. Dr. Stephen Edwards is back on Raw Minds with Enough is Enough, or Never Enough, sorry. Enough is Never Enough, the second book in the Venus Flytrap series. This time, desire becomes obsession, love becomes control, sex becomes leverage, money becomes power, forgiveness becomes permission, and conflict becomes intimacy. And 2 people cannot live in peace, discover it. They still cannot stay away from each other. This is the story about trauma, bonds, emotional addiction, manipulation, shame, abandonment, and the slow loss of identity. It also asks the question most people don't want to answer. What is broken inside us when chaos feels most exciting than peace? Tonight, we are going deeper into the obsession, into sexual power, into childhood trauma, into the accountability, and into the moment when loving someone starts costing you who you are. Before we begin, please support Raw Minds by liking, sharing, following, and leaving a comment. These conversations reach people who may be suffering in silence. This is Healing Out Loud. This is Raw Minds. I'm your host, and let's get into it. Welcome back. Welcome back. Welcome back. I'm glad to have you back here, Stephen. I'm just floored. Our first conversation was amazing. Everybody loved it. I got so much great feedback, and I'm excited to dig into the second part of your book, man.
Beautiful, man. Well, I got to say, man, that was like an amazing introduction. That was awesome. You should definitely be on a major TV chat show, because not even most of those guys do the kind of research that you've done. But such an eloquent introduction, right? So thank you so much for that. But the problem is now we've told the whole story about the book. What else are we going to talk about? It's a great setup. It was a great setup. So it's really great to be back, and I want to thank you very much for having me back, and I'm really looking forward to this. I know we're going to have a blast, and we're going to leave some people with some really powerful things they can use in their life.
Definitely. And like I'm not shitting you, man. I mean, I got a lot of great feedback, man, so I can't wait to, give this what we're going to talk about to my viewers and give them some more gold.
Yeah. Absolutely. It'll be awesome. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it very much.
Definitely. And before the drill of how we do this, before we get into it, please, can you let people know where to find your book, the first copy, the second copy, and whatnot?
Sure. Yeah. So you have the link from before. Probably better to start with the first book, because it really explains. I mean, it's the foundation for the second book. I originally thought it was just going to be one book. I carrying this story around for so long, I hadn't realized how much was in it, right? So anyways, book 2 is coming out. Book 3 will come out probably next year. So you can get the link for the first 3 chapters for free, because we've done that for Eric and his audience. You can also get another link on there, which is because I do counseling now and through so much. I learned a lot, right? About how not to get into a toxic relationship, how to get out of one, and make sure you never go back into one again. And I also coupled that with, the studies and learnings that I had before this happened with spiritual counseling and personal development, which makes the whole story even more funny, right? Because you go, wait a minute, you had 20, 30 years experience before this happened. I go, Well, how do you end up in that situation? Well, you learn when you read the book, it can happen to any one of us. We've all got flaws, as you were saying earlier, right? And sometimes when you're not really, look at them, the universe is going to put you in a place where you don't have any choice, right? It's going to stick you on your butt, and you're going to have to look at it. And you realize in the end, you said earlier about you've been through 4 marriages, and at the end you go, let's do the math here. Because people would say, what's wrong with all these women? And you go, well, just like you said, 4 marriages, 1 constant, me, maybe I had something to do with it, right? And so you start to look at yourself. finally started to look at myself and realize that all these things are mirrors, man. They're mirrors of me. And so when you start to realize that, you become aware of it, then you start looking at them. What were the mirrors? What was she showing me about me? It wasn't about her. She didn't do anything to me. She did it for me. Now, I'm not saying you're going to get that at the time. You're probably not going to get it at the time. You've got to look back on it and reflect on it. When I finally did, I started to see myself, and that she didn't do it to me. She did it for me. It was a gift, right? So it didn't feel like it at the time. But to me, she was a master teacher. Her soul made the sacrifice to come into this life and really teach people. She was a master teacher, like for you to see what's going on in your own life so you can heal. And that you realize it was never, ever going to last. It wasn't meant to last. It was meant to do what it needed to do for you. And then you were meant to move on. Because in the end, the decision is going to be taken out of your hands. You will have no choice. You'll either die or you will actually continue. You'll learn from it. I mean, it's that crazy, radical. So that's how it was. But yeah, it was one of the most powerful learning experiences of my life. And I've worked for some pretty powerful luminaries, Tony Robbins, Robert Kiyosaki, and I've helped them with their businesses. And they taught me a tremendous amount. And I'm blessed that they were in my life. But this experience taught me more than anything else I've ever been through. And so it's become a catalyst. We were just talking about the 3 books that are part of that trilogy, but also now I'm back into, I got so burned out on, the spiritual side of things, the personal development side of things. And I was just like, I can't, I've just done so much, right? I'm tired of it. And so this experience has been a catalyst to get me back into that and how I can relate that experience to the wisdom I'd learned before and get me back excited again. So I think you can tell I'm pretty excited, right? So
Hell yeah, man. Hell yeah. And I mean, the first book was great and our conversations were great. And we actually touched on, that you, in the first conversation we had, you touched on about it was me, that you stepped out and it was me, and that takes a lot to for a long time too, I was doing a bad path and I thought everybody, it's their fault.
Yeah. Sure.
But we really have to look at ourselves too, because, we're not perfect. We have flaws. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Really.
I go on another podcast. You love this, man. It's called The Secret Lives of Therapists.
Okay.
We've all got our flaws, right? We've got our problems. And I related to it in so many ways, not just as a therapist, but also, when I was a speaker, I'm traveling all over the world and I'm doing these big events and I'm on stage and you come off stage and people go, man, you're amazing. And you go, no, that's a show. That's not me, right? It's me espousing a perfect person and that is not me. And so that can also make you feel alone, right? It did me. Because you're thinking, well, if I was who I really am, would you even like me? Would you even want to hang out with me? You know what I mean? And I don't want to lose that persona, that image. And so maybe I should pretend to be that. And that causes you to push down your honesty, your vulnerability, to be who you really are. And then you're only living half a life.
Or you get lost, or sometimes you don't, you're so lost you forget really who you are. I've heard stories of people just spiraling even after a lie after lie after lie, that they believe that they're someone that they're not. It happens a lot in
undercover
with cops, they
get so far undercover they lose them. Yes, you're right, man.
Yeah,
it's true.
Right.
You're absolutely right. Yeah.
So it happens, and so you got to be aware of these things too, because in a sense, you could say depression almost, the deeper it gets, you just want to stay in. It's dark. You know what I mean? It's that, right?
Absolutely, yeah. And so what I wanted people to understand is, look, knowing what to do doesn't mean you're doing what you know.
I like that.
And sometimes you can become very successful at being that. You can make a lot of money. I was living in a multi-million-dollar mansion. I was making millions of dollars a year. I had a sex room in the house and I'm going out with a former supermodel. How bad could it be, right? But that's not where happiness is. I mean, people hear this, money doesn't make you happy. People go, bullshit. Give me some money. I'm telling you, I'll be happier, right? Well, I'm not saying money can't make a difference, but it's not going to solve all your problems. It's probably going to create more problems than it actually takes away because it's just a reflection of you. And I was talking to someone about this, I've just written this book, Quantum Wealth, turning wealth inside out, because the wealth is inside you. It's not in the external world. Now, it can be in the external world, and there's nothing wrong with that. But if you don't create that abundance, that wealth inside yourself first, it will disappear. Because what will show up is who you really are. What do I mean? Well, whatever you believe, whatever the patterns are in your life, they're like rubber bands, right? And you can willfully, forcefully, determinedly drive yourself, and those rubber bands will expand, right? And you can create a world that looks really amazing. But what's going to happen to those rubber bands eventually? they're going to snap back.
Mm-hmm.
And the whole thing will just implode. And then people say, what happened? Well, you were so stressed out. You weren't happy. You were pushing those bands to their extreme, but it was exhausting.
Mm-hmm.
It's taking all your energy away. You didn't have any freedom, right? And so then you become anxious. You become frustrated. You become angry. Little things piss you off.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you get mad at people. Well, why are you freaking mad at them? You haven't done anything, right? Because you're trying to be perfect. You think everybody else should be perfect.
Mm-hmm.
And you start to feel like everybody wants something from me. And I've only got so much, because that's your mind playing games on you. It's your beliefs, it's your values, it's your patterns that are repeating and imploding it because it's not real. So when you can learn how your inner technology works, how to find that inner peace, how to find that inner abundance, that inner wealth, now you can build external wealth, and it's built on a foundation because you got balance in your life. You know how to set boundaries. You know how to say no. You're not doing everything to impress anybody else. You're not trying to be successful. You're doing it because you love it and you're passionate, but you've also got a balanced life.
Mm-hmm.
You know when to end the day, right?
Yep.
Yeah. And then spend time with the people you love and not them feel like you've got no time for them, which you didn't realize was happening, but it was because of what's going on your inside. So, you know, and I was completely lost, man. I had no idea. I'm thinking I'm teaching all this stuff. I'm making all this money. Shit. I got my shit down, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I didn't, obviously, right? Because I drew this experience into my life. I brought it into my life. I had to take responsibility. It wasn't about her. It was about me. Mm-hmm. And so I had to, like I said, I didn't realize that at the time all the time, right? I went through the frustration. I went through the anger. And it all came out. But she was a reflection of me. You know, to blame her makes me a what? Makes me a victim.
Mm-hmm.
And where's that going to go? Not going anywhere. That's an endless cycle, right? But once I could, and you know, I had help with this. I mean, I looked for answers, and you know, one of the places I went to, which gave me a lot of the answers, was Carl Jung, amazing psychologist, right? He studied under Freud, and then he absolutely superseded Freud. He became the leader of psychology in the world, and there's a reason, because as he explained, this is not an accident. It's not a coincidence. This happens when you need to learn from mirrors in your life, and you're going to be drawn into a relationship, and you're going to go, man, God, thank you so much. This person is perfect for me. We're perfectly aligned. It's amazing. And then, little by slow, you give pieces of yourself away because you don't want to lose the person. But to not lose the person, you think you've got to give yourself away, right? That they are saying to you, because usually in these scenarios, and I hate to generalize, which is a good thing to say before you generalize, right? You know, that usually in these kind of relationships, there's one person is the giver and one person is the receiver. And the giver just really is, they think they're kind, they think they're doing it for somebody else, and they're giving every piece of themselves away. And the taker is the manipulator. They know how to get what they want. They're looking for the next host. They're a parasitical, right? Usually narcissistic or other things that they know how to manipulate. And the giver doesn't see it coming, right?
Yeah.
But no matter how much you give the giver, it's never enough for them either, because there's holes in both of you that can never be filled. So the taker takes from that person until they're like, nah, I don't even want that person anymore, right? And then they throw them away or they devour them, right? And the giver just burns out. So I was the giver. There's nothing wrong with giving. But once you start to go over the line of letting go and compromising who you are, now you're really fucked, right?
It's almost like self-respect too, right? You're losing your self-respect because you're
100%, man. Yeah, your respect goes out the window, and you make excuses in your head, right? To justify it. Well, she can't help it, you know? Bullshit, right? That doesn't mean, even if she can help it, it doesn't mean that you've got to put up with it.
Yeah, exactly.
And the more you do put up with it, the more you give him permission for it to happen.
Yeah.
And then you stop doing the things that make you who you are. I mean, it's easy to see now, right? It wasn't easy to see at the time. And that's one of the other reasons I wrote the book, is to say, listen, it can happen to any of us. And it probably has happened to most people at some time in their life. It's okay. When you're going through it, you probably feel like you're alone, but you're not. You're not alone, right? Other people have been through it, and there's lots of people out there that will help you get through it. Maybe it's a coach, maybe it's whoever it is, but you feel like in those situations, a lot of times people feel like they've got no support system. There's no one they can talk to, because that other person tries to create conflict in all your other relationships because they 100%. Want to get them out of your life. So they've got you to themselves. That the only thing left you have is them, and then they're just going to devour you, right? And then they will not only take your family and friends away, they'll take money away, they'll take your vehicle away, they'll take every way that you could get out of the relationship away from you. And you didn't see it until it was too late. or hopefully you saw it before it was too late and you get out. But it's easy for it to happen. It doesn't happen overnight, and you're not probably going to get out of it overnight either, right? It's going to take a while. You've got to recondition your mind. You've got to recondition your emotions. Because here's the thing. It's all happening at an energetic level. It's all happening with vibration. What are you talking about? Well, we are born from vibration. Everything in the universe is light vibrating, right? And when you have these experiences, which usually, but not always begin in your childhood, because in your childhood, you have no power. Like when you were a kid, I remember you saying that, your father was a welder and he was gone all the time, right?
Yeah.
And he wasn't really home as much, right? It's not because he was doing that on purpose per se, but there was a certain emotional cost to you, right? Because he wasn't there. And that creates the energy that you really want to let go, the anger, the frustration, all the feelings that go along with that. They get caught up in the cells of your body. We don't realize it consciously, but what that does is it lowers the vibration of our cells in our body. But that vibration that we emanate, we don't create it, we emanate it, is going to connect with that vibration in somebody else. So people say, oh, man, glad I got out of that relationship. I'm not going to be in a relationship. I'm not going to go in a relationship for a year, 6 months, whatever it is, right? And so finally say, yeah, you know what? I'm ready to date again. I feel better. I feel great. They get in a relationship. What happens?
Same thing over and over again.
They
Right?
make the same person a different body. They go, how the hell did I pull that off? Nothing else could have happened.
I've done it too, I mean, like I've got already, I'm never going to date someone like that again. And then it's the exact same person with a different face. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So you got to do the inner work. And I say, look, a pound of prevention is worth 10 pounds of cure, right? If you would take the time to say, let me look at it. I don't see anything, but if I go look at it and have someone look into my life, into my past, and see if there is any trauma there and heal it first, so I don't bring it into a relationship, which means it's destined to fail. And I could be married for 10 years, hanging on for all the wrong reasons to come to that conclusion. It can save years of your life and years of confusion and years of saying, why does this keep happening? There is a reason, but you also have to understand there's nothing wrong with you. I tell people, you don't have a relationship problem. You have a pattern problem. And if we can change those patterns and release the energy that you're holding in your body because those things happened when you were young and it felt like they happened to you, and at deep level, you feel like a victim, we got to heal that, because once we do that, it's going to change everything, including the kind of relationships you have in your life.
See, and it's funny you say that though, like, because I noticed I had like a pattern problem, right? Like when I was dating a bunch of these women, right? And I was like, okay, I'm going to flip the switch and date someone that I wouldn't really date, right?
Yeah.
But
Normally,
that person was still that same person with a mask. It still turned out, because I was trying to mask the pattern of the other person when actually the pattern was within myself.
Yes. Yeah. Huge distinction, right?
Yeah. Huge.
Huge understanding. And unfortunately, this is another reason why I do this work, and probably you do too, is just, who the hell teaches us this stuff?
Yeah.
Nobody. How,
Nope.
people are thinking, well, I didn't know that. Well, how could you? How could you know that, right? We go out in this world and we're expected to know how to be in a relationship, right? How to take care of ourselves financially, but they don't teach you that in school, do they?
No, not at all. Like, I'm a carpenter, right? Imagine, like, you don't know anything about carpentry, you just say, right? And I say, okay, go build this high rise. It's like the same thing. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
You didn't go to school for it. You don't know how to do it. You know what I mean?
I know. And
I mean, there is school for carpentry. Don't get me wrong. But I mean, that's why there's like counselors, or there's professionals, or coaches or whatnot, because they can help you. So that's like your school it's a school of like finding deep down the problems, the patterns, and be able to extinguish those and move forward with your life. Am I right? Does that sound right? Yeah. Okay.
And you know this from being a carpenter, man. You can go to school and learn it, but even then, you have
everything.
You
go it all out.
Well, yeah, but you have an apprenticeship. You serve an apprenticeship.
Yes. That's where you learn. Like, even in the school, I'll tell you the truth. Even you learn the basics, but I mean, when you get on a job site, you throw all that out, and you're the person that you're apprentice or whatever that you're working under. I mean, or you're a carpenter if you're an apprentice. That's where you really learn, and that's the real school.
You froze up
hands-on.
No.
Hey, sorry about that. For some reason, had like a quick power outage or something, hit a breaker, but we're back. So apologize. So we're talking about we're getting into mirrors and looking into someone is you're actually yourself is kind of looking back into you.
Yeah.
And I want to actually touch on this because I had a guest. I didn't even know about this, like this mirrors, looking into someone and looking back. Pretty much, you're looking back, right?
Yeah.
And I had a guest come on, and he builds boxes. It's crazy, actually. He builds these like puzzles like out of wood, and there's only 3 people in the world that does it. And he explained about like he meets women, but he doesn't like meet them to date them. He helps women, right? That's his thing, and it helps them finding their true self, I guess, and all that with their mirrors, and help them like show. And he really pulled me out of like this mindset that I had, and really like I really started investigating about like when you're looking at your partner, it's a mirrored self of yours, right? And it really blew my mind because I'm now in like a better state of my life, which then I have a beautiful woman now in my life, right? She's amazing. I just beautiful. I got goosebumps, just great heart.
Yeah.
And now I'm attracted that, you know what I mean? Because I know, I've done the work from before, and it's just, it's very powerful. And if like people don't really know about this, it's a true thing. Like it really is a true thing,
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
I want to clarify something though, because people can get confused when we say it's a mirror.
Yeah.
Because people will say, I would never hit anybody. I would never do something so mean to somebody. And I'm not saying you will, right? So there's a little bit of clarification here. The mirror sometimes isn't that you would do that. The mirror is that you would allow it, right? So why is this happening to me? Because you're allowing it. You've given that part of your esteem away, because every time you tolerate it and let them get away with it, you're saying it's okay, that I deserve to be treated this way. It's how I expect to be treated, right? And so, the new book is called Enough is Never Enough, until it is. Until it is, right? And only you can decide that. I'm sure you've seen this too, right? People will say, yeah, I've had enough. I'm ready. And they're not. They're really not. It's got to be more than just something you say. You got to feel it viscerally. Made a decision. Decision. Desi is a Latin word. It means to cut off every other alternative. You're going to do whatever it takes. And this is one of the things I go through with people. I say, look, for me, it's not just about counseling someone who's not committed, because that's a waste of both of our time.
Yeah, definitely.
So my question for you is, how do I know that you're going to be committed? How do I know that it's not going to be easy? I'll tell you that right now, but it will be worth it. But how do I know when it gets tough that you're going to stick with it? And then people often say, because I'm paying you. Right?
I was going to say that. I was like, because they're
right,
paying.
Right. But here's the thing. People pay for a gym membership and they never go, right? So it's not just the money. The money's a part of it, obviously, because it's a part of your commitment. But it's
an investment, right? You're investing in yourself, right?
In yourself, yeah.
Yeah.
And, when people go to the gym, they go a couple of times, like, man, I'm in pain. I'm not going back there again. You know what I mean? It's hard.
Good.
It's hard there to build middle muscle, right? So when that happens, when it's getting difficult, what is going to carry you to the other side? How are you going to get past that? Because to be honest, if someone's not committed, it's not going to work. I can't make it happen. I can share wisdom. I can share strategies. I can put you through experiences. I can help you magnify the pain and, magnify the pleasure. But at the end of the day, it's something in you, right? You know that, right? You've been through a lot in your life. And, there were times when you're like, I don't really want to do this again. But you kept in it because you still had hope, right?
Yeah.
You're still going to keep going. And, people very often still have hope. And again, there's nothing wrong with that. You'll go through it until you won't, right? Until you go, there is no hope anymore. And you got to get to that point, because you can say to yourself, I got nothing left to give. And if I keep on giving, and this is what happened for me, right? I mean, I literally was losing my mind. And that happens in these things because you get so confused, right? And you just can't understand how by giving everything that you can't get anything back. And what's happening there is, have you ever had someone that just was all over you?
Oh, yeah. It was put you in a photo. Yeah, I actually not far long ago, but I mean, I had someone, they put me on the pedestal. They just boom, 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 love bomb the shit out of me. Yeah. And then one day they just said, fuck you, and walked away.
Yeah. You know, and even if they're really sincere, it gets on your nerves. It's just not, it can't be real, man. People say, I love you so much and blah, blah, blah. And you're like, it's not normal, right? You want someone to treat you like a normal human being, right? You're just going to turn around and say, shut the fuck up, or I don't agree with you, or because that's normal, right? So very often the giver becomes unnormal, right? That's giving so much that it's almost uncomfortable, right? And you've been in the situation, you've been in a room where someone is absolutely over the top, saying, I'm so in love with this guy, I'm so in love with this woman. And you go, that's a little bit too much, right?
Uncomfortable too,
Yeah, it's
to be honest
uncomfortable,
with
right?
you.
Yeah. So, but that's where it gets to, because they're so desperate not to lose the person, because they've lost their identity in the other person, right? They've made that person everything in their world, and they'll say, you're my world. No, they're not your world, right? You've got to have your own world within your marriage, within your relationship, because that's what attracted to them them to you in the first place, right? That you had a life, that you had friends, that you had, a life outside of them. So you don't want to give that away. So, I just, I'm trying to be clear here and saying there's nothing wrong with being in love, obviously, right? But when you go past that line of starting to give yourself away, losing your identity, losing all the things that made you who you are, that's not healthy. It's not healthy. And if they're, little by slow saying, I don't think your family like me, and they're always mean to me, or, they make me feel uncomfortable. I don't like going over there, all these different things. And, when your friends come, when your friend Bill comes over, he's always looking at me. He's looking at me weak. I mean, you know what I mean? And
Yeah.
Because they're trying to come between you.
Yeah.
Right. And they're trying to create a rift in your relationship with your friends. I mean, can you imagine going to Bill?
I've had that, man. I've been there. I've even had my friend even have a rift. So I was young and stupid. I think I was 19, 20, and I asked this girl for her marriage and blah, blah, blah. And it was on Christmas Day of all days. It was just corny as shit, man. Okay. I'm just telling you, it was really corny. And she said yes, everything. But then I had a friend that was a mutual friend, right? It was mutual, would then start saying all these things, and putting a wedge in between us. And then they ended up dating, and it was crazy,
Yeah.
So it's like, and it happens, man. It does. It happens. People, like, they get jealous or whatever, and they'll put wedges, and they try to take over.
And the problem is, you would never do that. You can't imagine anybody wanting to do that, right? And that's why they can manipulate you, because they can manipulate your kindness, your goodness, the fact that you will trust, because you are trustworthy.
And that's the problem with living your heart on your sleeve, right? Me, I that's a big issue. I mean, it's a great attribute, but at the same time, it's scary too. It can be dangerous too. It can have both.
You got to be so careful, man, because they're looking for you.
Yeah.
They're looking for you, or someone like you. They can see, they can manipulate you, and it's so easy, right? Yeah. And then they're good at it, right? It's a learned skill, right? So they will say things to you like this. They're called the Machiavelli 5 questions, right? He actually never asked these questions, but he's attributed to them. But it's the kind of thing he would tell you, don't answer these 5 questions, right? So like the first one is, so they go do something that they really should have asked permission from you to do. It's just protocol. It's socially the way you do things, right? But they've done something, and then after they've done it, they'll say, well, they'll tell you, I did this and this and this. That's okay with you, right? Well, and there's part of it goes, what's the point? She's done it now. So I go, yeah, it's okay. Now you've just opened that door. She can do it as many times as she wants or he wants, right? You've just given permission, right? Or they'll say things like, well, listen, you're a smart guy. If this, and this happened, what would you do? Don't answer that question. Because if you say, I would do this, this, and this, now you're fucked. Because now they're going to go do this, this, and this. And if it works out, they will take all the credit. But if it doesn't work out, whose fault is it? It's your fault because you told them to do that.
That's snake. That's where I was going. Like, that's snakes, man. You know what I mean?
They're strategic, right? And it's manipulation. But because you would never do that, you don't see it coming. Yeah. Because you don't play those games. So you got to be careful, man. You got to be so careful.
Definitely.
Definitely. Anyway.
But so I actually do want to get kind of into your book here. I want to get into the second part.
All right.
And I wanted to ask you that question, but we kind of go off here. So I'll ask it right now. Yeah. The first book showed how the trap was open. What does the book 2 reveal about what happens after it's closed?
It's what it looks like inside. When you get inside, what are you going to see? So at that point, they really know they got you, right?
Yeah.
They know they can do anything. And what they will do very often is, as she does in the first book, but they take it to the next level, right? They'll pretend to take responsibility. You know I shouldn't have done that. How can you ever forgive me? You're probably never going to forgive me, but could you forgive me? Right? So now they're inching towards, it's going to be your fault. It's never going to be their fault. They're never really going to take responsibility, but they're just
gaslighting, right?
Gaslighting, man. They're great at saying what they know you want to hear. So like she would go off on a crazy adventure, God knows who with, and never admitting that she did anything, but that she did. And then she would say, nothing happened, but you go away all the time and you leave me here alone. I got to go out and I got to have a good time, And then you go, okay, all right. And then she'd go, in any case, when you come back, you're always so tired. You never want to do anything. You never take me out anymore. So you see how we've gone 180, right?
Yeah.
And
manipulating at this point, right?
Totally,
manipulating,
man, totally, right? And then you feel bad. God, I haven't taken her out in a while. No, so no wonder she's acted out a little bit, right? Bullshit, right? That's not the way you get to go out again, right? So then I go, and I'll tell you a quick little story here, just to lighten the load a little bit. Brother, right? This is funny, right? So I say, okay, we'll go out next. By the way, at this point in the relationship, in this point in the book, at the end of book 1, this hasn't happened. So this happens in book 2. She gets thrown out of the community where I live. She literally gets thrown out. She cannot come within the community. Otherwise, she'll be arrested, right?
Really? Is it like one of those gated communities? Is that what it is?
Gated community, man. Yeah.
Okay. With the security guard and okay.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. The full Monty,
really?
Man. Yeah. So she's thrown out. So now you think, God, just freaking break up with this bitch, right? I mean, come on, man. You got to wake the fuck up. And I go, no. So now I'm putting her up in hotels, right? Which she keeps getting thrown out of for crazy shit. Like she's smoking in a non-smoking room, and they keep telling her, she won't listen, and eventually they say she's got to leave. So anyway, she's in another hotel at this point. So I say, okay, when I come back from this trip, I'll take you out, right? So I take her out, pick her up in the Rolls Royce, right? I mean, I make a big deal out of it, right? Pick her up in the Rolls Royce, take her to the Ritz Carlton. We're gonna have dinner, and she's bisexual, right? So she's bisexual. So she likes men and women, right? Whatever. So, which is something I would never normally put up with, right? Because that's not for me, right? But anyway.
It's your kryptonite, though. And I have to say, like, I have my kryptonite. Every person has their kryptonite.
Yeah.
And when I mean it like that, is that one person that I guess you could say you put up with their shit.
Yeah.
Until you don't anymore, until you realize,
Yeah. That's one way of putting it. I would say she was like heroin, right? But the same thing. It's the same thing, right?
Same thing, yeah.
Totally disempower you, right?
Yeah.
And so we go out, so one of the things that she'd been asking me is she wanted to bring in some of her friends and have at least a threesome, right? 2 women and me, right? It's just not my thing. When I'm telling this story in the book, I'm going, most guys are going, what the fuck is wrong with you, man? It sounds like a dream, but it's just not for me. And for all kinds of messed up psychological reasons. But the bottom line is I didn't want it to happen. So anyway, we go to the Ritz Carlton and we're having drinks before dinner, and she goes to the bathroom and she's got about 10 minutes. Anyway, she walks out with this beautiful blonde girl, right? And they come back over, and I'm going, well, I know what's happened here. I can already guess, right? Because she can hypnotize people. I'm not joking. She could literally have people wrapped around her finger in 3 minutes. So she's walking out with this girl and she says, hey, Stephen, I met Tracy in the bathroom. And Tracy is just gushing about Tamaz, right? Oh my God, I met Tamaz. It's like we've known each other, for years. She's amazing. And I'm so glad I found a friend. I just moved here recently because I came out of a bad relationship and I got a job, and I was here tonight with a co-worker, but she's older than me, and I don't know anybody here. So I was talking to Tamaz, and we become, it's like now she's a bestie in 3 minutes, right? And I'm looking over at Tamaz like
red flags. You just say these are all red flags, right? Everywhere.
Totally, right? And so this girl is very vulnerable right now. So I look over at Tamaz and go, no, don't mess her up. You know what I mean? And she just looks at me with like this evil eye. I'm going, I know where this is. So then she says like, she says to me like, she's beautiful, isn't she, Stephen? I mean, what am I going to say? She's ugly, right? Of course. So she's tying me up in a straitjacket right out the gate, right? So I go, yeah, she's beautiful for sure. And then she's saying to Tracy, your breasts are they real? Yeah. And then she's like holding out her chest like this, right? And she goes through the whole fucking body. So she says, look at her legs, Stephen. Her legs are gorgeous. And then Tracy's pulling up her skirt for me to see her legs, right?
She's selling her is what she's doing. She's selling her
on me, right?
Yeah.
And Tracy will do anything for Tamaz at this point, right? She's got her eating out of the palm of her hand, right?
Yeah.
She's very vulnerable. So she says, well, She goes, we need to go powder our noses, right? So I know she's going to be setting the whole thing up when she's in there, right? I just know.
Yeah.
So about, I don't know, 15 minutes later, they come out of the bathroom, giggling like little girls, right? And so Tomas comes back over to where we're sitting and she says, we have a proposal. And I know what it's going to be. And I'm trying to make a joke around it to bring down the heat a little bit, right?
Yeah.
Right. So she says, we think we should go somewhere a little more quiet so we can have a little bit more intimate conversation. So I don't even know what to say. I get up and I walk past Tomas and I just turn I go, can I have a word? Can I have a word? Right. So I go in the hotel and there's an archway before the bathrooms, right? So the men's is over here, the women's over here. There's an archway you can tell. So I'm standing in that archway kind of around the corner. So Tomas comes out. She's pissed, right? She goes, what are you doing? You're messing the whole thing up, right? And I go, look, I'm just not into it. I said, look, I'm not into it. She goes, and then she's like, got her head on her hands, like she's talking to a child, right? Yeah. What is wrong with you? She's not had any in like 6 months. She's ready to burst. She'll blow your mind. We'll blow your mind up there, right? I go, so then I'm like, I'm reaching for something, right? So I go, listen, have you any idea? What are we going to do? She goes, get a room. I go, have you any idea how much a room costs here? And she looks at me like, you would not give a fucking damn how much the room was if it was something you wanted to do, right? Don't even start with me. I said, but what am I going to do? I said, we can't all go to the reception and check in with no bags. She goes, we're not all going to check in. You're going to check in, and then we're going to come up to the room. I went, obviously, right? But I'm running out of reasons, right?
You're just trying to throw shit at the wall to see what sticks, right?
So finally, I just got to go with the truth, right? I go, Tomas, we've talked about this. I'm just not into it. It's not for me. I'm leaving. She goes, well, I'm staying. Okay. So I get out to the car, get the valet to bring the car around for me. And then she comes running out. Now, I've already started to move the car, right? It's already started to move. She runs over to the car, and I said to the valet, don't let her near the car. What's he going to do? Take it to the ground? He's like, well, what am I going to do with her, So she gets to the car, and she opens the passenger door. Now, it's a suicide door. It opens in the opposite direction, right? But she finds a way to jump in. I mean, like, what the? Is she a fucking stunt woman or what? How do you pull that off, right? So now she's in the car with me, and I'm pulling away. And then she's just going off on me, right? You did it, And a few weeks, if you read the book, a few weeks earlier, we'd been in Las Vegas, right? And she had played up really bad. So I left her in Vegas. I just left her there. I just, I'm out. I got to draw a line. I've got to try and create a boundary, right?
Yeah.
It didn't really help. But anyway, I ended up bringing it back. But the point is this. We're driving down the road. I'm taking her back to her hotel. She's going off on me. And I finally said, Tomas, if you don't shut up, I'm going to let you out of the car here and you can walk back to the hotel. And she knows I might, right? So then she shuts up and she folds her arms really tight, like, right?
Yeah, one of those.
I know retribution is coming soon, right? I don't know what it'll be, but I know
she's planning it in your head. She's probably planning it on the way the whole time.
So we get back to the hotel. She gets out of the car, and of course, she slams the door as hard as she can, right? Knowing that's going to piss me off.
Yeah.
And then she walks into the hotel. Now, here's the crazy thing, right? I'll never forget this, man. I'm telling you, this is exactly what happened. She walked into the hotel, and in my mind, I said, God, I love that woman. You said earlier, you said, I was a younger man. I was an idiot. Listen, I'm an older man, and I was an idiot, so don't worry about it, right? So she gets into the hotel. And so I screech away like I know where I'm going. I have no idea where I'm going, right? I don't know what I'm going to do now, but I decide to go visit an old girlfriend just to hang out. We stayed friends after we had dated.
Yeah, platonic.
Platonic, totally. So anyway, I go over to her place and I get outside. I park the car on the side of the road, turn off the ignition, and I'm looking for the key fob, right? Because I'm going to need it to start the car, right? No key fob. She stole the fucking key fob, man. I didn't even see her do it, right? So now
you can't even start your car.
I can't start that car, right? I'm screwed, right? I was going to go and talk to my girlfriend and not talk about any of this shit just to have some time, without worrying about it, right?
Refresh your mind. Have something. Yeah.
Yeah. Right. So I get in the house. She goes, what are you doing here? I said, well, funny you should ask, right? So now she learns I have an argument with my girlfriend and she's thinking, oh, he's here for a booty call, right?
Yeah.
She just made it worse. I said, no, it's not like that. She said, well, what's it like then? I said, look, she said, do you want to have a drink? I said, I will, but I got to go and get my key fob first, right? So then I had to take an Uber from her house back to the hotel, get to the room. And of course, she's playing me like a fiddle, right? So I get inside the room finally and she goes, I go, I need the key fob. What key fob?
What are you talking about?
Exactly. Right. I said, Tomas, give me the key fob. I need to get back. I parked the car on the side of the road. Worst thing I could have said. On the side of the road? Where on the side of the road? You know what I mean? I'm now flailing like I can't say my former girlfriend's house, right?
Yeah.
So I just go a friend's house, and she goes,
Who?
"Which friend?
Yeah.
Which friend? Right? What's her name? Right? You know what I mean? I'm
Yeah.
like, oh shit!" So eventually, she's got me tied up in knots again, right? So she's definitely not going to give me the key fob, right? So then I have to get into the Uber, go back to my girlfriend's house. On the way, I have to call the tow truck to come out and tow the car back to the dealer, right? So they can get me a new key fob, which is going to cost me at least $500.
Yeah.
So then I have to wait for the tow truck at my former girlfriend's house, right? I get in the Uber, and there's all kinds of other things happening. I'm going to make it short.
Can I just say 1 second?
Yeah.
This is one expensive fucking date that you went on,
Dude,
eh? Because
this
it was
is
supposed to
nothing.
start.
This is fucking nothing, man. I'm telling you, this is a
Really?
small one, right? So I get home, I'm in my house, I'm in my bed alone, right? And I'm saying to myself, geez, man. So I started off the night with a Rolls Royce. I don't have a Rolls Royce anymore. Started the evening off with a beautiful girlfriend. Don't have a beautiful girlfriend anymore. At the beginning, I also had another beautiful chick that wanted to fuck my brains out. I don't have her either. I go to my ex-girlfriend's house, and I didn't get fucked there either. I lost a Rolls Royce, 2 girls, and a former girlfriend. I didn't get to eat any dinner. I think I'm about the only guy I know that could pull that off in one night, right? In one evening, right?
You didn't even eat?
No, we hadn't got to dinner before all that happened.
My God, man. My God.
But it's funny now, right? And
Oh
you
yeah,
know-
yeah. That's. I mean, we're laughing about it. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And you found the silver lining. At the end of the day, what's most important is finding the silver lining. And
Of course, yeah.
some things could be very terrible, but there
Yeah.
is a silver lining in it, right? Sorry to cut
There
you
is.
off, but I wanted to make
No,
that.
no, you're 100% right, man. I just want people to know that you probably won't get that in the moment. You'll be stressed out. You'll want to just be angry. You'll want to be a victim. And it's okay. You can be a victim for a little while. What you don't want to do is stay there, right? You can lick your wounds. She did this to me. He did this to me. But at some point, as soon as possible, you got to say, okay, so this happened for me. Explain that, because this is going to be good. But you're committed to the idea. You're committed to the belief. You probably won't get it right away because you're still freaking mad. And it's okay to be angry. Angry is a perfect, normal, natural emotion. But then you got to release it. You don't want to hold on to it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I don't know whether I told you in the last time I was with you, but and it's a freaking hilarious story as well. But she cut up all my clothes, right?
Yes, you told me. You told me.
about
Yes.
it, right? Yeah,
Yeah. You can talk about it again because
no,
people may
it's a
not
funny
hear it.
story. But my point
Yeah.
is, you know, and the same with this situation is, you know, I was angry. I didn't go, oh, well, this happened for me. Bullshit, right? I'm a freaking human being, right? I was pissed. I was angry. I'd say, listen, I didn't want to hurt her, but I did want to kill her, right? But finally, even in that situation, I had to come to the point where I sat in an armchair and I went, okay, all right. So this happened for me. You explain this to me. This is going to be good, right? And initially, you're not going to get it. It's okay. You'll think, well, maybe it's this. And you'll know in your heart and you'll know in your intuition, that's not it. Right, so the first thing that came up to me when she cut up all my clothes, because my clothes had become part of my identity. I didn't even realize it, right? So she brought that to my awareness. But the first thing that started to bring the tone down a little bit was I said, well, it's just clothes, right? I mean, you can replace clothes. And my brain went, fuck that. Those were nice fucking clothes, man. You know what I mean? And they went, yeah, you're right. That's not good. That's not it, right? But eventually, I got it, eventually. And it just came into my head, attachment. I was attached to those clothes. So there's nothing wrong with liking nice clothes or having nice clothes. The danger becomes when you're attached to them. What does that mean? You think it's part of who you are. And if you don't have them, it will diminish you. And it goes back to the phrase, and you've heard it a million times, it is more difficult for a rich man to enter the kingdom of heaven than it is for the camel to slip through the eye of a needle. Because a rich man very often becomes attached to his things. He thinks it's who he is, right? And he's attached to them, just like a camel is attached to its humps, right? You can't let go of its humps.
Your persona is like a lot of like, oh, that guy's a nice dressed man. He's, you know what I mean? And that becomes sometimes even people's personas or whatever,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
Like race car drivers, their car is their attachment, I guess you could say something.
Can
Because
be,
that's,
yeah.
you know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. It really can be anything, right?
Anything, really. I'm just kind of making up an example.
Yeah, no, you're right, though. But you're right. I mean, yeah, because it's like, you know, they say, you know, what do you do? I'm a race car driver. It's their identity, right? Yeah. It's not who you are, but it's what you believe. And if you can't race cars anymore, who are you? Yeah, I can't even imagine, right? You're attached to it, right?
Yeah.
Nothing wrong with being a race car driver, but the danger is if you think that's who you are, right? And I had started to see that. I had started to be that without even realizing it. And then it just snowballs from there, because then you go, well, what else am I attached to? What else do I think represents me and who I am, that if I lost, I feel it would diminish me, right? And so that started that process. The point I wanted to make, and we're talking about right now, everything happens for you if you will find the silver lining, if you will find the meaning, if you'll find the mirror. What are you letting, what are you, along the way, we lose parts of ourselves. We give it away and we don't realize it, right? Like we give away our esteem. We let people cross boundaries that they should never be allowed to cross. And we justify it. Well, I can handle it. I'm okay. No, you're giving permission. We teach people how to treat us. People say, well, he did this to me or she did that to me. I said, oh, when did you give him permission to do that? What do you mean? I never said he could do that. Well, did he do it? Yeah. But did you do anything about it? No. Well, you gave him permission then. You said it was okay.
What's the saying? You give them an inch and they take a mile, right? Usually.
There you go. Exactly right, man. That's exactly a good way to put it. Yeah. Give them an inch, they'll kick you a mile. That's a good one. I'm going to use that. So, yeah, man, it's like we've got to be, I say to people, you got to put yourself first. And people hear that and they go, that's selfish. No, it isn't. If you don't put yourself first, no one else is going to. And if you put everybody in front of you, this is what you're going to say. No one cares about me. No one does anything about me. Well, no, because you won't let them. They say, well, let me help you that. No, I got it. Let them help. They just asked you. And if you keep saying that, what are they going to stop asking? Can I help you? Your missus is in there. She's doing all that. Why don't you go and help her? She doesn't want any help because she's told you that 1,000 times. You go in there and can I help? Can I do this? But what the woman is wanting you to do, we don't realize this, guys, because we're like, ask us, what do you want? Right? But women don't want to ask for it. They want you to figure it out. They don't want you to ask, can I help you? They just want to see you start doing it. And that goes right over our head, right? Because if we want something, we're going to ask for it, right?
I actually had a conversation like this the other day with my girl, because she'd be like, oh, I need to do this. And, I feel like I'm always doing it. Well, you're not asking me, telling me what you need me to help you with. So how am I supposed to know? You know what I mean? And she's like, you know what? You're right. Our communication needs to be, and we got a really great relationship, right? Our communication is on point. She's like, you're right. And we tackle this. And now today, asking me and I'm doing things and it works out. And that's how it should go.
Yeah, it is, man. I mean, what people don't realize is men and women speak different languages.
100%.
We speak 100%. A completely different language. And it's not anybody's fault, because how would we know that? You don't. You just think, well, hey, you want something, just ask me. But women don't think like that. And just the same way, when they're telling you their problems, they don't want you to fix it. And you go, well, why are you telling me then? Right? If you don't want me to fix it, why? Because they just want to be heard. And you're going,
100%. Yeah.
Who cares, right? I don't need to talk about my problems unless I want them fixed, right? Because that's how we are and it's how they are, right?
But I mean, just talking about that, though, is a release. That's a release to get off your shoulders and get off your back or whatever it be, right?
Yeah, but we're fixers.
Yeah.
We feel like we're responsible for her, right? That we got to make sure she's okay. If she has a problem, now it becomes our problem. And we got to help him fix it because we got to be the man. We don't even realize that consciously, right? It's all unconscious. And a woman wants that at certain times, right? But not when they're telling you about their problems. It's freaking not easy, right? Right? Yeah. It's not easy, right? When do you want me to step in?
Yeah.
Right?
You're damned if you do and you're damned if you don't, right?
Exactly. That's how it feels, man.
Man.
Like that. Yeah. So
definitely.
Yeah. And the same thing happens in relationships. You have to be aware. Awareness is it's the starting point to transformation. And it's difficult to do when you're not someone who, has an ulterior motive other than caring and being kind and wanting to give your girl or your guy everything that you can, because you would never take advantage of that. But there are people that will. And you have to protect yourself by being aware of that. The more giving you are, the more those manipulative, narcissist. Now, we're all narcissists to some degree, but you know what I mean? A full-blown narcissist.
Oh, yeah.
That's exactly what they're looking for. They're going to prey on you. So don't set yourself up for that. You know what I mean?
Especially if you're an empath, right? Because like narcissists and empaths, they're like vampires. They will suck the life out of you, and they will find you like empath. Narcissists find empath. It's just it's like they have a tractor beam.
It's electromagnetic energy.
Yeah.
So you're going to be drawn to a narcissist and a narcissist will be drawn to you.
Mm-hmm.
And you go, and that's the same thing we said earlier. How the hell do I keep meeting the same people? Because of your energy, what you're letting off, your vibe, they can feel it, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And you want to give, they're going to take from you as long as you can give, right? And you think it's great because I love to give. They're just going to keep making you give, and you're not going to get anything back.
Until your soul's gone, pretty much. They will suck the soul right out of you. You know, they will.
They will. Here's the dichotomy, though. You know, there are good people out there that won't.
100%. Tons.
But you will never attract them into your life as long as you have that vibration that just says, I'm going to give. It'll never change. So it's on you. So you know, as hard as it sounds, you know, you feel like a victim and you've got all the receipts and you can tell everybody what they did. And you've got to look at yourself and say, how am I pulling this into my life? What is the pattern? What happened to me in my life, usually in your childhood, that is causing you to feel like you've got to give yourself away, that you're not worth being loved, that unless you give and never expect anything in return, you're never going to have what you want, that you're not worthy of love, right? Because that's what you're really saying. That's what I was saying, right? I didn't know it consciously, but that's what I was saying. So, you know, like I said, it was the greatest learning experience of my life, because to learn all these things, learn how to set boundaries, realize you gotta, right? That however strong you think you are not strong enough to go through all that. Eventually, you're going to find the person who is going to rip you apart. They're going to take everything you have to give and then spit you out. But you let them do it. You know, the first time you compromised who you are, you gave that piece away, and the next piece and the next piece, they actually really didn't take it from you. You gave it. You gave it away, right?
And in that moment, you should be learning that lesson, you know, and that's when you should really learn the lesson and find that silver lining. So then you don't give that away anymore, you know. And it's hard because a lot of people just get blinded, you know, and they point fingers, you know, and usually when you're pointing one finger, you got three pointing back at you, right? So
it's true, man. And ideally, you know, we should do that. But at the same time, it's very difficult when you're going through it to have the consciousness to see that's what you're doing. So I say to people, listen, you know, don't blame yourself. Don't beat yourself up. In the end, you now know that you were giving permission for it to happen because you needed to heal these things. It's not about them. It doesn't mean when I say that they did not do those things. They did, but you can't change that. What you can change is your future. You can change the meaning you're giving it. You can look into it and say, okay, well, I allowed them to do it. What does that say about me? Well, you need to be aware. You were giving yourself away. Don't do that. Stay grounded. Make sure you still do the things that you did that made you happy before you met that person. And don't let them talk you out of doing those things. Don't let them get between you and your friends or you and your family. Don't let them isolate you. Be aware that these things can happen. Be aware of how they do things and then justify it. Ask you questions that tie you up to give them permission to keep doing it. Just be aware. Awareness is important because when you're a trustworthy person, you expect everybody else to be trustworthy, and they're not. You got to face reality, right? They have to show you that they are trustworthy. They need to demonstrate that to you, right? And then once they've demonstrated that to you and they're trustworthy, then it make more sense to give them a little bit of trust at a time. Don't give it all away. You know, I talk about vulnerability, and vulnerability is not a weakness. It's a power when used 100%. Properly. Right?
Yep.
I mean, you don't want to go out on the first date and spill all of your vulnerability, right?
No, not at all. No, there's a time and a place for that. Time and a place. Yeah.
And then people say, well, when should I do that? I say, well, if you don't ever get any trust, maybe never, right? But if you're really contemplating and you feel like this is someone that you could really spend your life with, and that's not after a week, right? Or 4 days. No. It takes time to get to know someone. And people go, yeah, but I just know it's perfect. I know it's them. It's fate. No, it isn't. It's chemistry, right? And when you first meet someone, everything is perfect. You can't keep your hands off each other. Everything they do is amazing. And they're amazing, but you haven't met them yet. You've met their representative.
Yeah, I always say give it anywhere between 3 months to 6 months. And that's why I won't even introduce my daughter from dating someone until after 6 months, because usually someone can hold up that persona, that fake person for only so long, you know, because it gets tiring. It gets tiring.
Absolutely.
You know? And that's what it is.
I agree 100%, man. That's when you really start discovering the person. Right? So give that some time. And listen, I am the worst. I used to fall in love 3 or 4 times a day, right? So I was the worst at this. But that's why I understand now you can't do that. You can't do that. right?
Mhm.
So I take responsibility for my part of the situation I brought into my life. And when I say that, what I mean is really start to value yourself, right?
I think you muted yourself on your mic there.
I did.
There you go.
Value your presence. You know, you got to find out what they bring to the table, and you've also got to recognize what you bring to the table. And very often, when you got low self-esteem, you can't think of what you bring to the table. It's all about them, but you have things that you bring to the table. And if you don't value them, how are they going to value it?
Yeah.
They're not going to value it either, right? So you have to value yourself. You have to put yourself first. You know, I use the analogy of the, being on the airplane. You know, the oxygen goes out, and the mask comes down. Who did you put on first?
You, not your kid, man, because your kid, you got to protect your kid, so you got to protect you first so you can protect your kid.
Exactly. That's right. You put yourself first, and that's how it is in life. The moment you start putting the oxygen mask on everybody else, you're dying. I mean, literally, you're dying inside. Yeah, your soul is dying. You don't recognize it sometimes until it's too late. So yeah, go to the gym. Make sure you eat the healthy foods. If that's who you are and that's what you want to do, don't let them pull you away from that, because that's positive. And they want to pull you away from positive things. They want to weaken you. They want to break you away from your friends, your family, anything that gives you grounding or is supporting, so that you now only have them. And once you only have them, or maybe even before, they're trauma bonding you, right? They'll be abusive. Emotional abuse is sometimes worse than physical abuse, right? Emotionally, spiritually, financially, they will take it all away from you. And you've got to make sure you're noticing it, that you have the esteem to say that that's not acceptable. But you see, when you're so afraid of losing someone, the boundaries go out the window.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Then you say, well, I don't want to upset him, or I don't want to upset her, so I'm not going to say anything. But they know exactly what they're doing.
See, I deal with that a lot. Like, I notice myself saying that a lot in like my kid's mom's relationship. Like, oh, like she used to be this person. She had the 3 jobs. She used to be that. And I always saw her as that person.
Yeah,
but she's a different person now. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah.
And I wasn't looking at the full picture of what it is. I was still living in the past of this and making excuses, for her, right?
Yeah.
When reality, what's happening is happening, right?
Yeah, and I said to people, look, I don't want you to turn into a cynical person, right? A cynical person has been hurt so many times they don't believe anybody anymore, and they believe in everything is going to go wrong, and that's not what we want, right? What we want is for us to be realistic, to be real, right? And to be honest with ourselves. Because and this is, what I had to learn, right? We can talk ourselves into anything, right? We can justify anything. And I do that in the book, because it gets to an end of a chapter and the reader's thinking, thank God for that. He got out of the relationship, right? And then they start the next.
You'd mute yourself again.
Yeah. Hey, they're back together. How did that happen, right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, you were saying, God, I love that girl, or whatever in your head, right?
Wasn't it, right? But I talk to the reader throughout the book, and I go, you're probably thinking I should have broken up with her, right? But then I go, but if I had, you wouldn't be enjoying this amazing story now, would you, right? You're not going through it. And then I would say, so how did I justify? How did I let her back? And what I would try and do, I would try and hold her accountable. She would say she was sorry. It's never going to happen again. That's all I wanted to hear. Yeah. I had something. She had given up something, even though, 2 minutes later, when she came back, she would flip it around and it was my fault. But anyway, so then I would say, so look, here's the deal. I could break up with her and I could go back to what basically was a kind of mundane life.
I just want to let you know you're frozen, but we can hear you.
I am, I can see me and I'm moving. You're moving.
It's okay. It'll catch up. It doesn't matter. I just want to let you know, just in case if it cuts you off or anything. I just wanted you to be aware. But anyways, we're still going. This is Raw Minds.
I would say in my mind, Derek, this is what I would say to myself to justify, right? I would say, okay, let's figure this out. Let's evaluate this situation. I could break up with her and go back to a relatively mundane life. Or I could continue to date a 6-foot former supermodel living in a mansion with a sex room, and she's a sex addict. I don't know. What do you think I should do here? So I go, I'm going to stick with it, right? For as long as I can. I knew from the beginning, really, in my heart, it was never going to last forever. This was not my forever girl, right? But she was my right now girl. She was Miss Right Now.
It's exciting too. You know what I mean? You're having it's a roller coaster, man. You got these ups and downs, and I mean, it's just exciting. And you're probably like, what next? What next? What next?
Yes.
You know what I mean?
But you see, that's a reflection of me.
Yeah.
That's how I live my life.
Yeah.
So I was also drawn to that adventure, that excitement. But just as in my own life, eventually you burn out on it. Eventually you're going to crash. Eventually taking that amount of risk is going to have consequences. And I, throughout my life, had suffered a lot of consequences. And so people say, well, why did you keep doing it? Because the ups were so good too, right? The highs were amazing, even though the lows were really low. And so, but the point is, I was making those choices. And so by really seeing that clearly after all this stopped, I don't do that anymore. I don't take those crazy risks anymore. I'm not seeking those super highs, and I don't want to have those super lows anymore. So I've evened it out. I make more sensible, rational decisions. I'm not so spontaneous as I was. But I had to come to that realization and realize that the ups and downs have consequences, and that I don't want to live those consequences anymore. You know?
How did you get there though? Was it just a realization, or was it one just big boom, or was it just like compiling after compiling after compiling that it just said like enough is enough?
Well, the second book is called Enough is Never Enough, right? So when you're addicted, enough is never enough. But there comes a point when you do say, all right, I've had enough now. Now I'm ready. But nothing's going to change until then. That's why I say to people, look, if you're not ready, it's okay. If you still think you can turn this around, I'm not going to stop you, you know, because I've been there. I understand, right? You know, it took me a long time to say enough is enough, right? But that's the point you're going to come to. And only you know that, right? Only you know in the end. You know, you can have someone guide you to that. So there were lots of things that happened that, you know, we're not going to get a chance to talk about today that made it easier to finally let go. Because I discovered some things that made me understand her condition more, better.
I don't want you to ruin the third book, so don't ruin anything with that. So please, okay.
But I realized, not overnight, but even when I found those things out, I didn't want to let it go, man. I never really wanted to let it go. So finally, I'm with my therapist, right? Who was going crazy herself. She says, I'm not going to take you in anymore because you're driving me crazy, right? So I said, look.
She's going to have to see a therapist. Because
she's going to have to see a therapist about me, right?
Yeah.
You know, and she would realize she'd have her head in her hands going, Stephen, I don't know what I'm going to do with you, right? You know? And then she said, we found some things out, right? And she said, Stephen, look, you have to make a choice. You see, here's the thing, as I'm spending more and more time with you, you got to realize you're actually going insane. You're actually losing your mind. And if you keep going with this, you will lose your mind. Now, if this is what you want, then you got to look at the consequences of what you're going to suffer as a result. And if that's what you want, that's your decision. You're making that decision. Or, you know, she said, you got to face reality. She's never going to get help. She will never. I mean, there's reasons for that we're not even going to get into, but she will never get help. And she said, so, and here's the truth. If she doesn't have therapy at least 3 times a week, there is no hope. None. Right? And she's never going to do that. So you have to accept her for who she is now, not who you have hope she might become, right? And something you really have to consider is this. If she's not willing to get the help, to go to therapy, she doesn't love you enough. That's pretty heavy, right?
Yeah, very heavy.
You know, that's like a sword in your heart, and you go, yeah, I have to let her go. I have to let her go. And I did, but even then it wasn't overnight. It's a process.
Definitely. So, well, I mean, you got feelings, right? You have all these memories, these feelings. You can't just drop that in a second, no matter what happens, you know, no matter what happens.
Absolutely no. And you know, people think, because people around them will say that, you know, they're going, I just, you know, I'm in this place. And, you know, sometimes people get sick and tired of hearing it, right?
Yeah.
Well, look, you just got to do something. You got to leave him. You got to leave her. You got to get out of it. And you go, they don't understand it's not that easy. To them, in their mind, it should be. Look at all the things that they've done, right? You know, what are you doing? Just get so when they have someone who is saying, not because they're sympathizing, people do not want your sympathy, right? Nobody wants people to feel sorry for them. And people that do are doing that because it makes them feel superior, right? But somebody that can empathize, they can understand how you feel. That's different, right? And when they have someone that can empathize with them and saying, look, you gotta go easy on yourself. You can't just walk out. That's just not reasonable. It's not rational. And if you do that too soon, you're going to go back because you haven't healed those wounds that you need to heal. You're going to be, you know, going to bed at night and all you're going to do is think about them.
And then that's a dangerous cycle because it just keeps on going and going and going, right? In circles.
100%. Now, no matter what, you're still going to think about it. But when you haven't really broken the tie properly, not only are you going to be thinking about them, you're going to be thinking about how can I get back with them. right? You're going to go back because we can only resist something for so long. Like it's like if you want a tub of ice cream, I'm not going to have ice cream. But eventually you're going to be at the fridge and you're going to be eating ice cream, aren't you, right? Because you're going to keep thinking about it, keep thinking about it. You're going to see yourself eating the ice cream. You're going to get that ice cream. May as well get it now, right? And this is the kind of conversation you're going to be having. But when you've made the break emotionally, physically, and spiritually, that you have to let them go, it's still going to be hard, but you're going to have more discipline because you're going to realize that no matter what I do, it's never going to work. And I have to let them.
So someone told me the best way to think of it is wise as like a funeral as they passed on, and mourn them as a funeral, not in that sense, but mourn them like that, and try to, in that sense.
100%. You're exactly right. It is like a funeral. It is grief. And you'll go through the stages of grief. It is like a death. You're exactly right, man. 100%. Yeah. Yeah. So, and it also, when you really wake up to the truth, you also have to grieve the death of your old self because they don't exist anymore.
Yeah. And your future plans too, like all the plans that you've created in your head. Like I went through that, after losing Jules. I had all these.
Oh my God! What did you call it? What did you call it?
Jules. That's her name.
In the book, that's what I called. No. I'm telling you, in the book, that's what I called my former wife.
Oh, really?
Jules. Her name is Julie.
Jules.
I called her Jules.
Yeah, her Juliana.
There you go.
That's her name. Yeah.
There you go, man. That's kind of funny, huh? Kind of coincidence. Kind of synchronistic, huh? Yeah.
I know. It brings us together somehow. Yeah, definitely.
There's another connection we have. Yeah.
Yeah, brother. Yeah. I know we're kind of getting on here. I know we had a little split there because of the thing. So kind of over our time limit here with you. I don't know if you had anything else going, so I don't want to push you any farther.
It was a great conversation. And, you also got to realize that people are only going to listen for so long, right?
Yeah.
We got to let them go home, right?
Yeah. Hey,
we'll do this again, man, probably a bunch of times. So,
definitely.
I hope that people have got something out of it that they can use and that can help them in their life or their relationships. And
definitely.
There's a lot more to share, obviously. But I think we had a good start on these first two podcasts. What do you think?
Hell yeah, man. A great first start. And I can't wait to do more. I mean, you got still the second book, or the third book. The third part of your book. So I'm excited to get into that too. And you got other stuff on the. I don't want to say too much. I don't want to spoil anything for you unless you want to. But I'm just saying, man, you're more than well. You're part of the Raw Minds family now, man. So you're more than welcome.
I appreciate that. I'm very proud of that. I'm very honored to be part of the family.
Thank you, man. Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, I just want to say once again, thank you to coming on here. And I mean, I was as soon as I saw your guys' email, I was excited because we just had a great conversation. It flows perfect. This is great. So I just want to say thank you again. And if you can, please let people know where to reach both your books. I'll put that up on the screen too. And all the information will be on the bio, so they will know how to get to you and all that as well.
Yeah. Well, I mean, our conversations are an opportunity to maybe get to know me a little better and to say, I'd be interested in, getting the book. But what I would say is first, get the first 3 chapters for free.
Mm-hmm.
Read it and see if you feel like there's a connection there. And then, I know once you've read the first 3 chapters, you want to get the book because it goes so much deeper than you can imagine. And it's very funny. And it's very reflective. You see things about yourself and you go, oh my God, I can see myself in there. And it's very entertaining, man. And it's nonstop excitement and adventure. Everything you
I was just going to say it's a roller coaster. And it's not like it's your life, but it's a good roller coaster to be able to sit back, pull these and ride that. You know what I mean? Like it's great. I got the first one down pat. That was amazing. Like I said, this just happened. I'm dealing with some other stuff in the background.
Yeah.
I haven't had a full chance to get into that, but I'm actually very excited to get that. And I'll be excited to get into the number 3 too. So I appreciate that. I appreciate that.
Thank you, man. That means a lot.
And all of that info will be in the bio. So check it out. You can get the first 3 chapters. I'll have that all for you guys. So just scroll down and I appreciate it, man. I really do appreciate you coming back on the show.
Thanks, man. And you're going to be on my podcast. I just started, right? So it's still in early stages. It's not worth your while coming on there yet, but it will be.
Anytime, man. And anytime.
I really go deeper into the spiritual and psychological things that happened in that situation and how to, not get in those relationships, get out if you're in one and never go back into one. I go pretty deep And then we get into the more, the personal development and spiritual side of things as well. So check us out. Check out the podcast. Join us. We're really trying to create, and I know you are too, a community, right? You're really building a community here for people, and especially men, right? For being able to have a safe place to go, to hear the things they need to hear that are very hard to find. Let's be honest, right? So what you do is not an easy home to find because you want to help. You've been through it, man, and you can share not from a book, but from experience. You know this stuff, right? And so that's the greatest thing you can do. You've taken the difficult situations in your life and you have put them together in a way they can help others. And that's a big part of the healing process as well, right? So join us on the podcast, come to the website. I got the coaching. If you want to have a session with me, it's complimentary. Chat, see if there are things that are going on in your life that I can help you with, whether it's, everything is a relationship, right, Eric? Everything,
Definitely.
Money is a relationship. Your career is a relationship. There are all kinds of relationships outside of your significant other, your family, your friends. Everything is a relationship. And all those relationships are affected by patterns that you created when you were a child that you're probably not even aware of. So we can spend some time working on those too. And that's it, my friend. I mean, I'd love to hear from people. I'm passionate about what I do. I won't tell you I can fix your computer because that's not going to work, right? But I will tell you that I can help you with some of those issues and give you some resources that can make a big difference. I mean, I'd love to help you.
That's beautiful, man. And I appreciate that. And please, everything will be in the bio. And I was going to say, if you can you send me all, any of your podcast stuff, I would love to. I have no problem putting it on my social medias too and trying to funnel people over there as well and my community. So, if you want to send all that stuff my way, I'll do whatever I can to help you promote it.
Yeah, man, I appreciate that. And vice versa, man. I love your stuff. I think it's very important. So I'd be more than happy to post it on our social media and talk you up too, man. I think what you're doing is very important.
Thanks, man. I really appreciate that. Well, I just want to say thank you, everybody, for coming back. I actually, if you were watching, in about 2 hours, we will be doing another podcast. So tune back in for that or not, and tune in on Friday, whatever you want. Other than that, though, thank you guys. I appreciate all you guys, and we will see you next time. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Eric.
Raw Minds. Men's Mental Health. Hosted by Eric. Follow, subscribe, share. For the ones we never meet, you're not alone.